Hey everybody, this is C Hacker, and this is a video that I've been wanting to make for a while now. Last time I published a video on elementary OS, there was a lot of criticism about it, saying that, I didn't know a whole lot about Linux, or there were a lot of things I said that weren't necessarily true. And after, having spent a couple of months looking back on those comments and doing a bit of researching, I realized that most of what you said is true. So I've decided to kind of do a remake of elementary OS with my newfound knowledge, and hopefully this will be a good introduction for those who haven't seen the other video, and for those who have, maybe this will be a little more refreshing. So yeah, let's get into it. Elementary OS is obviously Linux, and it's a really great operating system. I really enjoy it. But in this video, I kind of want to go over a lot of different features in it and kind of how to use it. But I also want to talk about who the operating system is really for. So let's get into it. First, you are greeted with the desktop. Now, the main thing about the desktop is that you can't put icons on it. You can't put shortcuts or folders or files or anything. It's a lot like Chrome OS. You are stuck to using the dock, your applications folder up here, and your file browser. So it gives a bit of an interesting new perspective if you're used to Windows or Mac or other versions of Linux. So here you can see there is the dock. Now this dock, I don't believe it's actually integrated with elementary OS. Let me show you what I mean. If I pull up Monitor, which is an application I've previously installed, it's basically a task manager, you can see here that Plank is running. Now this is always running, but if you don't know already, Plank is an app that basically creates a dock of your applications for you. So it's not actually an integrated part of elementary OS. However, it's a little bit unique because it's always running, and I don't know if you can shut it down. I haven't tried. Oh, you can. You can end the process. I don't know what would happen if you did, or how you would restart it, because you can't find it in the applications folder. And when you look up the starting program in the starting programs, you can't find it there either. So basically what I'm trying to say here is this is a third-party application that's being used for your dock, but that's okay. It doesn't really seem to slow down the operating system whatsoever. So this is your dock. You can obviously pin different apps to it. What is kind of cool is you can pin specific files to it. So let's take a look at that. If I open up the file browser, and I'll talk more about the file browser in a minute, let me just create a blank empty file. Whoops. Here's my new file. I can drag this, to my dock. So that's pretty cool, and you can launch these documents straight from the dock. It's a really nifty thing. So now that we're here in the File Explorer, let me talk a little bit about it. This is where you're going to be spending pretty much all of your time for your files that aren't your applications. So you've got your, obviously your home files here, you've got different things on the side. You can remove these, I believe you can move them around, but you can also put your files on there or your own folders. So if I drag this right here, oops, you can actually place your own files right on the side. So it's kind of a cool feature. The thing I should mention is that you cannot click and drag files around. You have to right-click and drag, which is why you've been seeing the right-click menu pop up. It's pretty finicky, and it doesn't work 100% of the time. So right now, I'm right-clicking and dragging. And this is honestly one of the most annoying features about this operating system. And most of the features that I despise about this operating system they have to do with the file browser. Let's talk about a few. First of all, to open a file, you do not double-click it. It's a one-click thing, which I don't like, because then in order to select it, you have to click on this check mark icon right here. And in order to select something else, you still can't click on it. You have to click on the little checkbox. And it's annoying to like click on every single one. Oh, because look, I accidentally just clicked on music and now my selections are gone. That's a pretty annoying feature that I don't believe there's a fix for it in the settings. Yeah, so in order to move files, you either have to right-click and drag them, which, as you can see, isn't working super well, and then choose Move Here or Copy Here or whatever, or you have to use you just have to use Copy and Paste. So it's pretty annoying. The cool thing about files and folders is that you can color code them. They're basically tags like on the Mac. You can send them via Bluetooth and email right from the right-click menu. There's all of your different settings right there. And to recycle stuff, you either drag it into the trash or just hit Move to Trash. Now, if you've been looking at this window for a little bit, you'll notice that we've got our X icon over here, our Close button. Okay. On the right side, we've got our Maximize, but there's no Minimize button. And that is pretty much like the number one reason why I do not like Elementary OS is because there's not a stinking minimize button. And I really wish that the maximize button was on the same side as close. So I could just have all my buttons right here at once, like on a Mac or Windows. It's pretty annoying. In order to minimize something, let me show you how to do that. Let's open up the system settings. If you go to desktop, you'll see you've got lots of fun wallpapers and you can settings for your dock. But we'll take a look at hot corners. Now, a lot of Linux distributions have settings for hot corners, so you may already know what it is. But this is one of the only ways to use the minimizing feature. As you can see, I've set up to minimize the current window in the top left corner. So I have to move my mouse up here to minimize a window. So it's not terrible. It's just not as convenient as it could be. The second way to minimize something is by clicking on its icon down here in the dock. The third way to minimize something is something you'll also have to set up like yourself, just like the hot corners, and that's a keyboard shortcut. So if we open up the keyboard settings, maybe, here we go. Go into shortcuts. You'll see I've set up a keyboard shortcut for minimize. Whoops. And that's just the Windows key and M. So I can minimize windows just like that. But I can't bring them back up by hitting M. So yeah, that's one thing I really just, it just nags me. I hate it. One cool feature that is pretty consistent throughout this operating system is the tabs feature on different programs. So it makes it a little more bearable to not have any icons on the desktop because of this tabs feature. So you can create multiple tabs and be working in different areas of the file system, which is really cool. I love it. And this is also present in other places such as the terminal. As you can see, it looks pretty much identical, and I really like that the creators of Elementary OS have implemented this. You can also find it if we open the text editor, Scratch, and I create a new file, it's here too. So it's really a great feature that I love, and I wish it would be on Windows because it's pretty awesome. Now, Elementary OS, let me show you the specific version. It's been updated a bit since I last made a video about it, and right now we're on 0.4.1 Loki, which is 64-bit. Now, this is based off of Ubuntu 16.0 4.3 LTS. Now, the last one I did, I believe it was based off of Ubuntu 14, because the App Store that was present was identical to the one in Ubuntu 14. Let's take a look at the App Store. So it's been changed. It no longer resembles Ubuntu, unless, you know what, this might actually be what Ubuntu looks like. I haven't used Ubuntu in a while, but I know it has been updated. Anyways, so here's your App Store. You've got all of your different categories. I found that the app centers on the Linux versions generally don't have a large variety of programs. Most of your programs will have to be installed either through the terminal or online. There are a lot of your main programs, though, that you'll want to be using. Things like Libre, maybe. There we go. Libre. We've got Chromium. Okay. So your basic apps can be installed through the App Center. But what's nice is that the terminal is the same one that's used on most Linux distributions. It's the same one that's used on Ubuntu. So you have things like sudo and apt-get, where you can search for different programs. So it's really cool. I'm really glad that they've implemented this because it gives a lot more functionality to the operating system. Now, in my last video, I was way criticized about the one statement I made where I said there's not a whole lot of programs you can get on Linux. And I realized my mistake in saying that. I apologize. What I meant to say is that in the App Store, there's not a lot of programs available to you. There are definitely programs available through the terminal, especially if you add other repositories and if you download programs from the internet. Of course, you can also access Wine to use your Windows programs to your heart's content. But for someone that's less experienced at using those types of things, it's not likely that just an average person is going to be using Linux, but if they are, the App Center is honestly probably where they'll get most of their apps, and it's not stock full of lots of amazing stuff. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Let's take a look at Applications. Applications is the menu where you'll find all of your installed apps. You can scroll through it, and you can also look at it in a categorical view. You've got lots of built-in apps, calculator, calendar, camera. I've installed a few, such as Chromium and Monitor. If you're serious about using Linux, I would really recommend getting an app like Monitor to be able to see the processes on the system, since I don't believe there is a way to do that already. So let's talk about web browsers. I've installed Chromium, which is pretty much identical to Chrome, and it's really great. The problem is it's not super smooth on this computer. Now, the thing is, I'm using a virtual machine, which doesn't have a whole lot of RAM, so, there's limitations to that. So if this was just installed on its own computer, then there would be probably no problems. So you've got Chromium available to you, but from what I've found, this probably isn't the main web browser I'd be using for elementary OS. The one that comes pre-installed is Epiphany, which has replaced Midori. I'm not sure what the exact differences are because the icon looks exactly the same, but if you open it up, it's a pretty simple browser and you can see it open pretty quickly. There are a couple of downsides to using Epiphany, however. First of all, you can't customize your home page or your startup pages. This is your default home page. There are no settings or preferences to change any of that. The settings are very bare, very minimal. There are some nice things where you can, block pop-up windows and advertisements. I haven't actually seen if unchecking allow advertisements works, but the option's there. So when you open up Epiphany, then it automatically opens to the last page you were using. So as you can see, I was last using Google, and that's why it opened up to Google. So this is the main web browser I'd probably be using. It's got some nice features in it if you dig around. So that's pretty cool. Now let's talk about Multitasking View. As you can see, on the dock is Multitasking View. This opens up your multiple desktops, which is a really great feature. I'm sure you already know what multiple desktops is, that feature, but if you don't, I'll just show you. So basically, you can move your windows to other desktops. and switch between them quickly. It's really great. And I've also found that keyboard shortcuts do work for this. So for example, if you hit Alt-Tab, oh sorry, this only works for applications that are on the same desktop. So you can switch between apps using Alt-Tab, and you can switch between desktops using Windows Tab, or if you have a lot of desktops, you can use Windows and an arrow key to switch between the specific one that you want. It's a pretty cool feature. I like the way that it's set up. I like how your desktops automatically close once there are no apps in them. So it's pretty nice. Alright, now let's talk about some of the installed applications. First of all, Calendar. Calendar is pretty basic. You can add events to it, and you can get notifications. I really like the notification management on Elementary OS. If you go into settings, you can see there is a notifications section where you can choose specific apps, and it reminds me of the iOS or Mac notifications. You can have specific apps displaying notifications in different ways. So that's a really cool thing. Also, if you tap on the calendar up here, you can see specific dates and scroll through the months, just like any other computer. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this little review. I'm sorry I wasn't able to show you every little feature. If you guys want to see more, definitely let me know in the comments. And I hope that this video was really helpful to you guys, and I hope for that those of you that watched my last one that this was a better version. If you still have issues with it, just let me know, and I'll see what I can work out in making videos in the future. Now, finally, I wanted to say, who is this for? I think this is a cool operating system. I don't think it's for the power users, and let me tell you why. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you can't minimize windows as easily as you can on other systems, or as conveniently, I should say. And you can't snap windows. That's something I didn't show you, but I don't believe there is an option to snap windows to the sides. I don't have very many qualms with this operating system, but the few that I don't like are that you can't put things on the desktop. I know that's not a problem for everyone. And definitely the things in the file browser, man, it just bugs me, especially the right clicking and dragging. Like, what is that? Anyways, this is for the people who do basic tasks, basic internet browsing, they maybe Word documents or whatever. I think that it's good for doing simple tasks, but not doing a whole lot at once. Anyways, it's a really interesting operating system, and you guys should definitely check it out. Either install it on a partition of a computer or on a virtual machine. I've got VMware here. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. Till next time, peace.